Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. Never have to cut you out like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they finished change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip.
Welcome to Seahawks Man to Man podcast, powered by Blue Wire. Shout out to the new company. My name is Michael-Shawn Dugar. You guys know where to follow me on whatever Elon is calling that app these days. My @ name has not changed, @ Mike Dugar, MikeDugar. Shout out to everyone who is either watching or listening via our YouTube channel. Seahawks Man to Man is the name of the channel. That is Seahawks Man, the number 2 man. We appreciate all the love and support on there. Make sure you like and subscribe. Even if you are someone who consumes primarily on audio platforms, it still means a lot to us, as does it to follow and like and share and all those stuff on Instagram. Seahawks Man to Man is the handle, and on TikTok, Seahawks Man to Man is the handle on there as well. Thank you for the love and support in advance. Chris, go ahead and talk to him.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Christopher Kidd. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter, and that's CKIDD206, and that's CKid206.
I always forget to shout out my Blue Sky. Yeah, I'm on there. I'm on there too. Don't use it much, but I try to cater to y'all. I'm doing what I can. Busy offseason. They out here trading quarterbacks. They trading receivers. They cutting Tyler. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot going on. Chris, I would argue. Someone asked me this the other day, that have the Seahawks made the biggest shakeup of any team? And it seems like yes, at least currently. I'm trying to think of a team that looks more different at this point than they did at the end of the year. I think it's the Seahawks, right?
I would argue the Jets too. You know, you lose Aaron. I mean, it was foreseeable, right? I know
the Jets do look different. You're right.
But it was I guess we could all say we saw that coming. No one saw this coming. I didn't see the Seahawks. I mean, I figured they could trade DK. I didn't see it happening, and I think that's more to it. Like, out of all the changes, this is stuff you didn't see happening. No one had a bingo card and was like, yeah, DK trade for 400 points, please. I didn't see that happening. So I think more so in that term. But then, yeah, with the Jets, they got a whole new roster, too. No quarterback. You lose Devontae Adams. So, and now your quarterback. Who is their quarterback now? I don't even remember who their quarterback is.
Justin Fields is their quarterback now.
There you go. Justin Fields signed there for, I think, 2 years, $20 million or something. So good luck to that. I know Garrett Wilson's probably going to have a really good season somehow, some way, because he's just elite. But I think the Jets would probably be the close second team that had a.
Yeah, I'm trying to look now. Looks like no one else has a different. Depending on how you want to categorize DK, if you count him as their wide receiver 1, which, and depending on how you feel about him at Jackson, no one else, it looks like, has a different wide receiver 1 and a different QB 1. That would probably then make that's a pretty big shakeup. Some teams have changed coaches, obviously, but I'm scanning. Yeah, everyone's at least returning one of those guys.
Gotcha.
No one's gotten rid of both. Trying to scan here. Yeah, it looks like everyone's keeping both of those pieces in place for the most part. Now, I guess you could argue the Steelers, if they go with Rodgers, then they would have a new QB1, and depending on how you feel about DK or George Pickens, they would then have a new wide receiver 1 as well. So it's kind of depends. So I guess Steelers and Seahawks probably in the running for there. But yeah, I didn't think about that till someone like sent it to me yesterday. It was like, yeah, man, no one's really shook stuff up like the Seahawks. I'm like, yeah, it's a good point. Some teams are changing quarterbacks, but that's not totally as big, especially getting rid of DK too. And Tyler, you know. That's
gutting the team, man.
Yeah. No, definitely gutting a certain piece of the team, like identity and face. And we'll get to that. We will talk about DK's comments on the Get Got podcast. Yeah, I think it's the Get Got podcast. I think. Great title name. But yeah, so we're recording, guys. This is Wednesday night. Hopefully you guys made it through whatever storm's going on outside my window right now. This sounds awful. Anyway, I say that to say we finally have, I brought the time of recording because we finally have now we can put a bow on the free agency period now, and we can do that now because we have contract numbers for Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Lawrence, Sam Darnold. I've been waiting for those for a little bit because they signed quite a bit ago. Because if you guys think about it, and it's not like I'm breaking news here, but the Seahawks, a big part of this offseason, I'll probably write about this too, is the math. It's not just the changing of the players, it's the changing of the players and what they cost relative to the players that they got rid of. Because I don't think anyone in good faith can argue that the Seahawks offense is better now than it was in week 18. Like that seems like a stretch. Like if you're just swapping out Sam Darnold, you swap out Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf for Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and River Craycraft. Go Cougs. Like you can't tell me that's a better lineup. Now, the argument then you can make is, well, it's a more cost-effective lineup, but it's better to. We need to see the full numbers, really, to fully assess that. And so we do have those, and read some of those off. We have Cooper Kupp signed a 3-year, $45 million deal, which I'm glad. It seems like the fan base, Chris, is getting a little bit more hyped to, are getting on with like whatever the agent initially reports. It kind of doesn't matter unless you see the word guarantees in there. Tell me how much money is guaranteed. I'll tell you what that contract really is. So this is 3 years, $45 million on paper, which sure. But it's got $26.5 million guaranteed. 17.5 is fully guaranteed, this Cooper Kupp's deal. So essentially, and Cooper Kupp's only got guaranteed money in this year of the contract plus the signing bonus. So, which is $12 million. So really, Cooper Kupp's on a 1-year, $17.5 million deal with an option for next year, basically, which turns this into like a 2-year, I don't know, 30 million-ish deal, which is like 15 million a year, whatever. That's essentially what it is. The third year does not matter. He's either getting cut or extended by then. Like he won't be on what those numbers are now. So that's where we're getting cut at. And that's important because DK was going to cost quite a bit. Tyler was too. Tyler and DK at some point were going to have the highest cap hits among receivers, those two and Devontae Adams and CeeDee Lamb. Devontae has since been cut. CeeDee's contract is restructured. Tyler and DK, I believe, at one point were going to cost over $60 million in cap space this year. Cooper Kupp is only costing 9.3. So you have that, and then Marquez Valdez-Scantling is only costing about 3.9. So you're getting like $13 million between Marquez and Kupp versus about $60 million between DK and Tyler. So that's part of the math of the offseason. That's part of the sell on the Seahawks part. It's like it's not just that we're getting rid of these guys and getting different guys. They may not even be better, but it's supposed to be you got a better chance of getting a return on investment. Now, could you have just extended DK, restructured his deal, and then just cut Tyler and sign him to something new? Maybe, but that's, we don't need to discuss that. But that just acknowledge that was a possibility. Now, we also have Darnold's deal, which that one's important because it's a bigger number. Obviously, 3 years, $100 million, $55 million guaranteed. Again, that is the number that matters. Everything else doesn't matter. So Darnold's only counting $13.4 million against the cap this year. His contract's really only guaranteed for this season. He's got $37.5 million, which is fully guaranteed. And then some guarantees trigger after the Super Bowl next year. So he's basically, Darnold is on a 1-year, $37 million deal that basically has an option to turn it into a 2-year, $64-ish million deal, which is about 32 a year. So basically how much they think Geno Smith is worth, pretty much, is what they think Sam Darnold is worth. Geno, of course, was going to count for like $44 million against the cap, extending him. Maybe you get that number down to about 37, 38. Sam, like I said, by contrast, is about 13.4 million. And then again, Sam's third year does not matter. His base salary is a number that he will not see. He'll either be cut or he'll either be extended. It really does not matter. So that's some of the math we're working with on the offensive side. And just before I throw too many numbers at you guys, because it's a lot, we do finally got DeMarcus Lawrence number, and I think that's important too, because on its face, that looked kind of crazy. It was like, it as Chris, like 340 million or something like that. Like it seemed really high. But in reality, this is like a 3-year, $32 million deal. And again, the guarantee is all that matters. And really, this number is like 1 year, about $12 million. and it can be like a 2-year, $21 million, kind of like an option thing. So as you can see, the Seahawks are kind of structuring their contracts all the same. They're basically just bloated 1-year deals with an option. If you don't suck, we'll keep you. And then by that 3rd year, we're either going to extend you because you're great or give you your walking papers and put together a tribute video. That is kind of the offseason. They basically, and how that math checks out, is D-Law's cap number is $7.6 million. I forget what Draymond Jones was going to be, but much higher. And Draymond, they saved about $11 million, I think, cutting him, 11.5, and they basically just gave that money to D-Law. That math's pretty simple. Save the money, eat the dead money, and on cutting Draymond, and then give that to D-Law, who is older and coming off a broken foot, but when healthy, probably a better player. I feel pretty confident in saying that. And also, Chenna restructured his deal too, took a pay cut. Good for him. Took a pay cut and gave up his jersey number. Chenna, good guy. That's a team player right there, buddy. He didn't have to do any of that. So, Chris, now I threw all those numbers out, and I want to. We took some questions from our listeners. Thank you guys for submitting all your questions. I'm actually going to steal one. We'll get to all of them later, but I'm going to steal one. Let me make sure I got the user I'm stealing this from. Let me give you a shout out before I steal from you. All right, we have Thorsten says, "How are we feeling at this point? Understand the Seahawks are not a contender right now, but the current offseason feels very weird, like no overall plan." So I love that question, which is why I'm kind of dipping into it earlier now that we kind of have a fuller picture of the offseason, because that's really the math. I do think, again, was very important. It wasn't just swap those guys. It was swap those guys. Oh, also, and then get draft picks. Sorry. Got rid of Geno, saved some bread, and you got the 92nd pick. You got rid of DK, saved some bread, got worse at receiver, not probably, I think they did, but you got pick 52. And for an example of what pick 52 can get you, I think that's what Zach Charbonnet was. So maybe we can get it back up running back, that pick. That's a joke. I'm sorry. It's little jab. D'Eskridge was pick 56, so maybe that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
The joke gets better.
Everybody loves draft picks, and they turn it until they turn into players they don't like.
Man, that's kind of the big thing now.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, oh, we got
great.
this pick.
You got a load. You got 20,000 picks in the first round. Woohoo! Or the second round. Great job, John. Those picks turn out to be Mike Dugar and Chris Kidd. Never see the field. Oh, good job, John. Yeah, things get interesting. It sounds good now. I get it.
Well, hey, now. I ran the same 40-yard dash as that Miami receiver. I don't know if you saw his pro day.
I did.
Xavier Revistro or whatever. He ran like 4.83. I was like, I can do that.
On a bad day after I played a game.
He said he ran 4.83. Oh, man. Yeah, that's slow. But also to piggyback on your point, Chris, about the draft picks, and I promise we'll get to Thorsten's question. But in 2019, the Raiders, after trading Amari Cooper and what's the DN's name? Khalil Mack. They had 3 picks in the first round in 2019. They drafted Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Abram. So it goes to show you that having all those picks, not guaranteed. Yeah, that was awful. Anyway, so Chris, I'm going to toss Thurston's question to you. Now that we kind of have the math on it, we have a good feel for how the roster looks. No, I do not anticipate them signing anyone who would start between now and the draft. They could sign some people, but it won't be anything that moves the needle outside of River, Craycraft, go Cougs. So how are we feeling right now about the Seahawks offseason, knowing the numbers, the draft pick compensation, and who is in and who is out?
Optimistic is the word I would like to use. I feel every year we come in with more questions than we have answers. And that just tripled this season because they gave up on DK. They said, you know what? You don't want to be here. We'll trade you. We'll make a done deal. Geno Smith. We're trying to pay you. You want more money. You don't want to be here. We guys, John Schneider views you differently. We'll find someone out there. Ty Lockett, you're just old, so we're cutting you. And he replaced everybody. He found suitors. Sam Darnold, quarterback, check. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Cooper Kupp, another receiver. He is finding people to try to replace losing DK and Tyler Lockett. Is it enough? Will it be enough? So this offseason, while it's been crazy, right now we don't know who the draft players are. We'll find out in a month, but we really won't know who they really are until they step on the field on Sunday. And that was to Mike's point earlier about having all the draft picks, and it sounds great. It's a great deal. but you don't even know how this plays out until the season starts. And that could be really good or it could be really bad. And in John Schneider's case, he is like right in the middle. He hits on some and then he misses. So the average is probably somewhere in the middle, I'd guess. If we were to take his entire career and how he's doing, it'd probably be above average, which is not bad, but I think we've had some really bad misses. And we can go through the list. Malik McDowell, that never panned out. At least he's still in the league, though. I think the last time he was playing was with the Cleveland Browns. So shout out to him. He's still getting a check. Cool. But you guys know where I'm going with this. There are so many players that they just whiffed on. I mean, Mike talked about the Oakland class, and they had 3 first-round picks, and they missed on every single one. Not saying that John will do that with the second round because they have a bunch of picks in that second round.
Well,
but
Josh Jacobs was good, to be fair. He's all pro in
my bad.
2022.
Josh Jacobs is elite. Excuse me.
Yeah,
He's one of those. He's one of them. So they got 1 out of 2. Not bad. You would want to get at least 2 out of the 3, but John now has an opportunity to really secure opportunities. And the biggest concern that I know I've had is that offensive line because it has not been good. And if it's not good, it just creates problems everywhere else. And you guys have seen this same sad story. And now I'm thinking, okay, John, you have an opportunity to really maybe find some guards and hopefully they find the right guy. So this offseason has been chaotic. It's been crazy, but I'm optimistic of what this team can and will be. I think
what has you optimistic?
The same thing. It's insanity. They're doing the same thing, but at some point it's got to work, right? How often can you continue to make...
Not necessarily, but yes, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Not necessarily, but at some point you got to strike. It's got to hit. You know, you keep recycling, you're cutting the old players, you're trying to get fresh and new. At some point, the dots have to connect. I know it's every 3,000 years or something, all the stars align in the sky, and it's a perfect line. Maybe this is the perfect line this season. I don't know what that perfect line looks like and where it ends. I know a lot of fans that are listening and watching would love for that, or supporters would love for that to be a Super Bowl, but I don't see a Super Bowl. Like, if everything were to align, I don't know if they go win a Super Bowl. I still feel there are issues, and if those issues are not fixed, I don't even know. Let's say they did fix the offensive line and they become top 5. Is that a Super Bowl team? Do you think Sam Darnold, them guys, can win a Super Bowl with Cooper Kupp, Marquette, MVS, and who am I forgetting?
Jackson.
And Jackson. Is that enough to win a Super Bowl right now? Maybe, depending on who they're going up defensively, but that's kind of how I see it. I don't know if they can win a Super Bowl if everything is aligned perfectly.
So when you say you're optimistic that things could hit eventually, what are you optimistic that they can accomplish?
I think they'll make the playoffs. I think this season they can make the playoffs. And boy, God, this is really a crazy take before the draft even starts, but I guess I'll be watching the tape again like, yo, I remember when I said back in March of 2025 that the Seahawks can make the playoffs and they win 7 games. You swing and you miss sometimes.
Well, no, I think that looking at the roster now and kind of projecting what it could be, what the team could be, I think now is a good time to do that. And also I should have mentioned they have about $30 million in cap space left, which is a lot. You can do a lot with that, but like you don't want to just throw that at whoever. But I mean, you can't go into the draft thinking we're gonna get like 3 starters. That's just hard to imagine unless you were like the Raiders had the 3 first-round picks one year. You can do that. I think one year the Dolphins also had that. I think maybe the year they had Tua. In Tua's draft, I think 2020, they had multiple first-round picks. Maybe then you can go in thinking we'll get 2 starters. You know, like when the Seahawks had 2 first-round picks in 2023. Maybe a year like that. But just even with the draft capital they have, which is quite a bit, it's kind of hard to think, all right, they'll look completely different after the draft. No, they'll probably just have like maybe a starter in the draft, maybe 1.5. 1 in a possible or something like that. So I do think if you think they're gonna make the playoffs now, we have a good feel for what the roster will look like week 1.
Yeah,
we really do. I think we have a very strong indication.
I think it'll come down to who they get on the offensive line interior. Can they find a guard that's a day 1 starter and that provides run support and protects the quarterback? If they can do that, I'm confident that this team could possibly win this division. But if they don't find an offensive line, sorry, we'll be talking in January about how the season was yet another failure, and John Schneider probably won't make it to that he probably won't even make it when we drop the episode. He probably already been fired. Like when we release the pod and say, oh, by the time this comes out, John might have already been fired. Bingo, that's probably what's going to happen. If in January we were saying the same thing, oh yeah, The Seahawks needed the Giants to lose a game because Russell Wilson led them to 10 wins or something. So that's where I'm at with it, which is a little optimistic just because I can't imagine too many other people are thinking the same thing. I think everybody else is like, nah, they're probably going to win 8-9 games again with Sam Darnold, if not worse, because of their ongoing issue with the offensive line.
So what stands out to me? So with every team, I just generally want to see a clean process as to what's going on. I can stomach not agreeing with all the moves per se, but usually it's just like, let me see a plan. I give an example. The Bears. The Bears clearly watched their tape of 2024 and were like, oh, our protection stinks. So they were like, all right, what's the plan? We're going to give a bag to Drew Dahlman. We're going to trade and give a bag to or pay a bag for a Jonah Jackson. We're going to give a bag to Creed Humphrey. Not Creed, Tooney, Joe Tooney. Like, we're going to redo our interior offensive line. Like, even if I didn't like those moves per se, I do like them, but you guys get the point. I can see the vision. You had a deficiency. You had a plan to address that deficiency. Even if it does not work, I can see the thought. You know, even last year with Detroit, I thought they were a really good example as well. They were like, oh, we need more pass rushers. Here's Marcus Davenport. Oh, our corners stink. Okay, well, here's Terry and Arnold. Who's the other guy they grabbed? Carlton Davis. They were like, oh, we need Carlton. We got Carlton Davis. Drafted this rook, Terry and Arnold. We got a pass rusher to go opposite Aiden Hutchinson. They had some other good moves too, but like, it was very clear what the plan was. And again, there's some teams I don't always agree with the plan, but I can see it. I think there are some other examples of this offseason, but that's usually what I'm looking for. The Vikings are another one. They were like, oh, our interior of our O-line stinks. So here's Ryan Kelly. Here's Will Fries. We need to get better on our D-line. They made a bunch of moves there too. It was very clear. Here's the plan. Those moves might not work, but you can see the thought. And that's good. I think the Seahawks, for me, they're kind of falling into a bucket of, I think the Texans are in this bucket as well, where I'm just like, I don't see the plan. I don't see the clear line of thought here. And the Texans, you guys, we're not going to rehash all of their moves, but for instance, they saw that their O-line was bad and then got rid of their best O-lineman. So I'm saying that one was a little weird. They traded for a safety and then paid their defensive guys, and now CJ Stroud might die back there. Right? I just don't see it. And that's a team that wants to get to the championship. That's their goal. They've made a divisional round twice. So that's their floor now as an organization. We need to get to the second round and then beyond. So they have high goals. The Seahawks have the same goals. Misguided or not, they have them. So when you feel it through that lens, I'm like, okay, what is your plan for you to get further than you did last year? Okay, cool. Cleared some money because your books didn't look great. I agreed with all of the cuts. With George Fant, Rayshawn, even Locke, even though that won't hurt my heart. I would still try to bring Locke back, but that's an emotional pick. I understand. Locke, Rayshawn, George, Roy Robertson Harris, Draymond. Like, I understood all that stuff. Gotcha. Cool. What are you going to do with the money? And this is, Chris, I feel like something we've been talking about before in the past. It's like, people seem to have this illusion that John Schneider hasn't done X, Y, and Z with the team in free agency because they haven't had the money. It's not true. It's a philosophy thing. John could have $100 million in cap space every year. If he sees guys on the market he don't think are good, he's going to sit on that $100 million. Like, he'll make calls, but he's not just going to spend $100 million because he has $100 million. He's not going to spend $50 million because he has $50 million. He's going to spend on what he thinks are players that are making the team better. Right or wrong, that's just kind of his thought. He doesn't like overpaying. John loves the idea of someone outplaying their contract. Loves that, which is good. That's what you need. But it's not a lack of cash, or cap space, I should say. He's had it before, and he just has a philosophy, maybe because his bosses say so or whatnot, but he just has a philosophy that says, yo, I'm only going to spend on X, Y, and Z type players. For instance, here's a part of the process, Chris, I think we maybe could agree on. They went out and was like, hey, our guards aren't good. Who are the good guards? There's one we like. His name is Will Fries. Let's try and get him. Tried to get him. Will broke his leg. They wanted Will to come in to see their docs. Will didn't want to sign somewhere else. John was like, well, I'm not just going to pay somebody else that I don't think is as good because now I have this money that I saved up for Will Fries. I'm just going to eat the money. I'm going to hold on to it for a rainy day instead of going to pay to whoever I think is not at, like, okay, what's the dude went to the Browns? Tevin Jenkins. Let's say, all right, I was going to give Will Fry $17 million a year, but he went to Minnesota. So, and I'm going to give 13 a year to Tevin Jenkins because I have the money now. No, well, that would be stupid unless you think that Tevin Jenkins is worth that. Clearly, they don't. So, that part of John's process I can defend. You should not just spend money because you have it. You should go get players that you think are going to help the team. And I think they only decided, hey, there was just one of those interior guys out there that we reasonably could have got. Couldn't get them. Everybody else not worth a damn. That I feel like is safe process. But then, Chris, everything else, I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's going on here? That is where I don't see the through line, because I think the Seahawks would agree, and I know they would, that whoever your quarterback is, he's going to need your help. You're going to need your scheme. You're going to need your O-line. He's going to need your receivers. He's going to need everything around him to be good. And I think in particular, they would agree with that assessment as it pertains to Sam Darnold, right? We just saw Sam have the best year of his life in circumstances where that were just super optimal around him. His O-line was good for most of the year. He had the best receiving tandem in the league, which included the best receiver in the league, arguably, who I think is the best for sure. The guy who literally won Coach of the Year, who was calling the plays, and one of the best defenses in the league with one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. And they had a run game. They used play action. Everything was optimal. And I think they would agree that you need those things for Sam to succeed. It feels like they've checked like only one of those boxes in terms of like the optimization of Sam. It's getting him a good play caller. And even then, I don't even know if Clint's called like a top 10 offense before. Maybe he has. Don't think so. So it feels like that's where I don't see the plan. Because if the goal is to go further, you can't just tell me we have $30 million in cap space, a cheaper roster, and 5 picks in the top 100. Because the last I checked, Chris, unless football has changed, cap space has never got a sack on a quarterback. Cap space has never caught a touchdown. Cap space has never thrown a touchdown or rushed for one or protected the quarterback's blind side. Eventually, you need bodies. You need talented bodies. Like, assets are only as valuable as the people tasked with allocating them. Like, this is a lot of pressure being put on, I feel like, the coaching staff and these rookies to really elevate this offense to a level that we haven't seen in a little bit. And I don't know, man. I just don't see the vision there. That's where I'm a little confused. It's not even like I disagree with some of the moves. The contracts are themselves that they've all signed to everyone too are pretty much fine. Cup's deal is fine. Darnold's deal is fine. Like, all the deals are fine. The trades are fine. Getting the second pick for DK. I didn't like the third for Geno, but it's kind of whatever at this point. I don't see how you can come away, if you're John right now, is thinking we're better today than we were in week 18. And that's tough. That's tough for me because that's literally the point of the offseason is to get better. And outside of the Will Fries thing, I don't even see a direct plan to that. And that worries me a little bit because it's literally the front office's job to plan. And I should be able to see it. It shouldn't take me having to make a phone call to John and he tell me something off the record. I should be able to just see the plan, unfold just with your moves, the actions. And Chris, these actions just say, like you suggested, this is maybe a playoff team. I don't know, man. That's it. That's further than last year, I guess, technically, but it doesn't feel, I don't know, man. And that's a huge maybe, it feels like.
Yeah, we don't want to live in a world of maybes. It's absolutes. You want to win or not. It's pretty simple. And those moves definitely, I don't know if this roster is better than next year, but as I mentioned earlier, with lightning in a bottle, maybe they're looking at that. They gave up everything. They knew they had to not reset, but they had to reshift, retool, however you want to phrase it. They had to change things. And the changes they made put them in a competitive spot. But is that going to get them over the hump? Because I still believe the Rams are better. I think if a healthy Niners team, if the Niners are healthy, they're better. So now you're looking at third, and the for whatever reason, the Arizona Cardinals just can't figure things out.
They're going to figure it out eventually. At some point, yes.
Yeah. So that same analogy that I'm using of they're going to figure out at some point. Well, damn, the Cardinals are that team. Like, how many years can the Seahawks be? We're cool and still win the division. I mean, hell, they almost won the division off being cool. Meanwhile, the Rams were rolling, and they almost gave it up. But they won. The biggest loss, obviously, during the season for the Seahawks that hurt them, that put them in this position where they needed a bunch of other teams to win games ideology in this scenario, it would be the Rams. They needed them to lose. Was losing that Giants game, that NFC game. That really hurt them. They can't afford that same problem this upcoming season. So their schedule, we all know the teams are going to be playing. There's going to be an NFC team who they just have to beat for whatever reason. You just got to get it done. And now it's going to be that much more challenging, I think, unless JSN becomes the clear-cut number one guy. Cooper Kupp is healthy. I mean, every player comes into every season obviously wanting to play every single game, but he's had unlucky history with injuries. Hell, my fantasy team suffered because of Cooper Kupp. So this is a little personal. I'm not drafting him this season, but watch. He's gonna go crazy. Someone's gonna get him, and he's gonna have a really good year. He's gonna play 15 games. But you're banking on a lot of what ifs, and I don't know if the Seahawks should be comfortable with that position they're in. Like, what if Sam Darnold takes off? What if he actually is really talented this season? And we could say the same about Geno, because when Geno got the job, me and Mike were like, this is gonna be rough, and we were wrong. Geno turned out to be good, but now I'm actually I think Sam could do that. I think Sam could be that Geno Smith. Mike is like, bro, I seen the film. It gets nasty at a few times. And I hear you. So it'll be an interesting case as the season progresses. You're going to get a good look at it because guess what? There's preseason. And not to mention, I believe Mike Macdonald's going to bring back, what's it called, Mike, when they travel and play other teams for
the joint practice?
I imagine that's going to be a thing.
Hopefully somebody comes here this time, man. I don't want to have to travel again. But I'm with you, though. I'm with you. Yeah, at some point, yeah.
So, yeah, you'll definitely get to see Sam and get a good feel for him. And then Mike can tell me, or if I do go, that offensive line looking bad and those type of games, it's going to be another. Well, season will end on week 18. Good to know you guys.
Yeah, and I think there is a world where Sam. I will say this about before we get to the questions, the moves that they did make. On the personnel side, I do think DeMarcus Lawrence is a good player. I do think he's a better player in this scheme than Draymond Jones. I think Draymond was fine. That was a perfect example of the coaches not putting a player in position to succeed. I like the DeMarcus Lawrence pickup. I think that's an upgrade. Chenna healthy, clear upgrade there. Like, I think the defense is in a good spot. Overall, they didn't really need to do anything, and they didn't do much. They basically just added D-Law and then brought back Josh Jobe. Cool. And Ernest. Great. And Jay Reed. Perfectly fine. The offense, here's where I do think there's some positive. The MVS move, it's kind of whatever to me. But I do think I watched a lot of Cooper Kupp. I even tweeted out some clips, but then stopped tweeting them out because I just got focused doing other stuff. Kupp still has some juice left. If you're wondering, like, what's Kupp still got? Kupp is still very good. He's very good. He's like very clearly like a number 2 now. Like, he can't be the best receiver on your roster, but he's definitely got some juice. He's definitely got some juice when it comes to separating at the top of routes, which is not something you need to be fast on. I do think we get caught up a lot with receivers and speed. We were just joking about that Miami receiver. If you can separate at the top of your routes, you can be as slow as molasses. That's it. You can run 4.9 like Jake Bobo, because Jake can separate at the top of his routes, and he's huge. He's like 6'4". But even if he wasn't, you could separate. You're fine in the NFL. JSN not fast either. He separates. He's fine. So I do think that's good. Kupp is really good. He's really physical blocker, which probably contributes to also why he misses games, which is like a gift and a curse there. Like, he's a really tough physical blocker, and then he's probably going to miss like 4 games a year. It's kind of whatever. You got to take the good with the bad. But I do think he's got some talent there. And I do think it was important to get some veterans in the room. That I thought, because otherwise, without like Marquez and Kupp, you really had JSN being the leader of the group. JSN is like 23. So I wouldn't have wanted to put that on him so early. So I do like that. I do like also adding guys who've been on Super Bowl teams. MVS, Super Bowl champion. Cooper Kupp, Super Bowl champion. Now, obviously, they had Ernest already, who was Super Bowl champion as well. Can't remember if there's any other guys who had been on Super Bowl teams, but I do think that type of stuff does matter. Guys who just know what being a champion looks like. It's hard to quantify, but that part I do like. And I do think there are, like, the best of Sam Darnold is good. We talked about that last show. So there is some positive, but like you said, I wouldn't call it a bunch of what ifs. It's just a lot of like everything falling into place. There's very little margin for error right now. They can't afford to really miss on any of these draft picks in the top, like their first like 3. Your first 3 got to be a couple studs. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. You know what? Actually, Chris, let's do this. Let's pivot a little bit. I want to get to some of the questions people asked. But in that, let's start with the person who asked the DK question so we can get to the DK discussion. of what he said. So let's go into the questions here, because I thought they were really good and to get us into some good stuff about the offseason.
This is from Rumpelstiltskin. What do you think of DK's recent comments about Ryan Grubb and the state of the locker room last season?
All right, this is a great question, and I thought DK, we're never really gonna know what happened with DK and why he requested a trade. You got to remember, John Schneider is telling one piece of the story, because that's how it works. When you're on one side of the table, you have your version of the story. Not saying John's lying or anything, but it's one version. He said DK wanted out for some personal stuff. Not say John's lying; he's probably telling the truth there, but that's his side. DK was asked about it in his press conference in Pittsburgh, kind of dodged it, but I thought he gave a good answer on the Get Got podcast, which is where this video and audio is from. Before you play that, Chris, I want to preface a little bit of what he said beforehand. DK, and I thought this is really insightful. DK said that, since he arrived in 2019, last season, there were only a few guys there who he had been with that whole time. It was Jay Reed, who actually wasn't there the whole time, but Jay Reed, for all intents and purposes, Tyler, Gino, who signed in 2019, and then Jason Myers and Michael Dixon. But really, you're focused on the guys who play offense and defense for the purposes of this discussion. And he said that he talked about how that there was a new culture. They had new messaging in the building, and it was just a lot of newness. And the holdovers, those guys I mentioned, he referred to them as 6 outsiders. Yeah, they were outsiders looking in on the culture. Whether that's right or wrong, I just think that's important to just take that at face value from someone who's there. Like, if he's telling you that's how he felt, like an outsider, I do think we have to listen to that. And he brought that up in reference to the time he was screaming at Grubb in that 49ers game, which is what Mike Robinson asked him about. And it goes into, I thought, a really deep discussion about why he may have wanted out of here. He doesn't say it directly, but for instance, here's DK's recollection of that 49ers hollering match he had with Grubb.
Speaking on the situation you brought up, me and Locke would watch the defense. We watch the DBs. We'll make make notes and send them in the receiver group message with the quarterbacks and the receiver coach and everybody on Tuesday while they're doing film study and game plan. Me and Locke would take our own time, put the things together, routes we like, weaknesses, strengths of the DBs, and we would send it, hoping that on the game plan
it
meeting
would
on Wednesday,
some of the things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on that particular day, we were playing 49ers. They got this DB I've been going against since he was we came in together. He plays for played with the Giants, so I went against him twice already. And then he was with the 49ers. So I'm like, okay, on third down, you have to run past him early because they're just going to sit at the sticks. On 3rd and 4, we call all hitches. Like, that's not running past them. Like, you have to scare people.
On that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's waiting on it. So when he sat and knocked the ball down, I come to the sideline like, let me just get the headset. Maybe he don't need to hear it from you, or he may have missed the text. So I said, Grubb, can we please run by these guys? Like, they are sitting at the sticks on 3rd down. Like, in order to open up the underneath stuff, they got to be threading deep first. And that was the last week me and Locke did that. That was the last week me and Locke did any extra game
because it wasn't used. I'm putting in all this work, bro. We're the starters too. It ain't like we just some slaps.
Yeah, so I thought that was really telling. And for what it's worth, I did go back and watch the film. It wasn't 3rd and 4 all hitches. The ball I think Isaac Yadam or whatever, number 22, is who breaks up the pass. It's like 2nd down, whatever. It was a comeback route. He did jump it. But I mean, that doesn't really matter for what the specifics aren't as important as I think, Chris, what he was expressing there. On top of feeling like an outsider, he just wasn't feeling heard. And I do think that if you look at it that way, whether you think how you feel about DK as a person, like, I feel like there's always instances in our personal lives or work or whatever where you just want to be heard. If you ever work somewhere where the place you work gets bought by a parent company, shoot, just happened to me at The Athletic with the New York Times. Like, if you guys have ever had that situation and they come in changing stuff, or you switch jobs, you switch schools, you switch teachers, you switch managers, whatever, you do just want to feel heard, in particular if the other way wasn't all that broken. You know what I'm saying? I think that's an important part of this with the Seahawks too. It's not like their offenses were just trash before Mike McDonald and Ryan Grubb showed up. Like, to DK's point, what they were doing was working to some extent, whether it's helping out with the game plans or whatever. Not to say Grubb had to do that stuff, but I do think when DK is sharing, there's like his feelings about the situation, and we do got to listen. It's not about agreeing or whatever. It's just accepting, like, this is how someone who was there felt. You know, I thought that was very key there. It wasn't like he wanted the ball or nothing. Well, of course he wants the ball, but it was more so, hey, man, I just want you to hear me. I just want to feel like what I'm contributing to the offense matters to you guys, like it used to matter in the past. You don't got to empathize with that per se, but I do think in a lot of ways that is a relatable, whatever way, relationship, friendship, you at work, whatever. Like I said, you just want to feel heard, particularly if you're used to feeling heard in a way that was conducive to you doing your job, you know? And I thought the other part that was interesting from DK is this next clip here, where he was talking about, not that it was the last straw, but another impactful part about what made him feel a certain way is how Tyler Lockett was kind of phased out of the offense last season.
I don't know if it's like you're supposed to play and we know how to do the work, but like we in the past, even with Russ Tuesday meetings, the player only meeting, like I got used to going to that meeting and like hearing another side because I knew Russ was in the offensive install meeting, so I got used to hearing that side of the offense. And okay, now Russ is gone. I'm gonna try to help game plan as well. I'm actually on the field running the routes. I'm not no slap. Like I know what I'm talking about when I'm on the field. And just to not feel reciprocated, that was like the start of Locke was coming to me and like, yeah, bro, I don't think I'm gonna be here next year with the way that they doing me. I'm like, that's my brother. Like Locke just came off a ban last year. Like Locke had if not 1,000, it was damn close to it.
Bro, you can almost count 1,000 every single time he out there every season. If he's playing, he gonna get 1,000 yards, bro.
And it's like I had to sit and watch my brother be told you're not good enough no more.
And so Lockett only had 894 yards in 2023. I'm just poo-pooing on some of the facts here that DK is saying. But anyway, it's the facts not as important as the feelings. And I do think that was very telling as well. It wasn't like I'm not getting used right per se. It wasn't like I'm not getting the ball enough or like Grubb's trash. It's like, look how they doing my mans over there. That hurts me. Again, I'm not saying you got to agree with the man, but I do think that's worth hearing out because, again, he's on the field in the meetings. Like you said, it's like, hey, man, they're telling my dog he don't got it no more. The film says otherwise, and that hurts my feelings. Now, is that enough to demand a trade? I don't know. Guys demand trades for all kind of reasons. But I do think if you're looking for a reason, it's not. It don't got to be as deep as like he hated Geno or anything like really malicious or whatever. It's just as simple as what he's saying. I didn't feel like I was part of this no more. I didn't feel like I was involved. Like it just felt too different for me. And they told my man he washed. So get me out of here. That said, Chris, it is very clear that the Seahawks was like, we don't want you here either. You can go. I had you out of here by Monday. Brother, pack your bags, propose to your lady, and get you out of here. You know, but I do think that was very notable because as much as the Seahawks are known for their culture, I was talking about this with the homie earlier today. Chris, it was very fascinating. You know, Mike McDonald last year probably had the hardest job in the NFL last season of the new coaches because he wasn't asked to take over something that was garbage. It wasn't like Dan Quinn who was like, hey, man, this is trash. Just throw away everything Ron Rivera was doing, start new, get busy. No, with Mike McDonald and Gerard Mayo in New England to a similar extent, it was, hey, man, keep some of what we were doing and add some new stuff from what wasn't working. That's hard to do. It'd be much easier if you just walked in like Dan Campbell in Detroit and was like, hey, man, Matt Patricia was buns. Do everything opposite of what he was doing. And Dan came like, cool. Whereas Mike McDonald was like, well, some of the stuff Pete did work, so we need you to keep that. We need you to keep his equipment guy. We need you to keep his player personnel guy. We need you to keep how he did the travel schedule. You know, we need you to keep some of this other stuff. But get rid of the other stuff, you know, and do that's hard. That's hard to balance. And what DK is describing is getting caught in the middle of that balance. And I don't know if he's the only one who felt that way, but I do think that was noticeable. That was like, yo, one of the guys didn't feel like, you know, he was blending well with the cultures. Also, Chris, I think it's a very easy to feel that way when it's not working. If they had won that Niners game,
nobody has this.
Yes, but that's the thing. What they were doing, you know, DK was getting 1,000-yard seasons. Locke was getting 1,000-yard seasons. And then you come in here, you don't even want to listen to us, and we losing. What? man, get me out of here. So I thought that was very I love that from DK. I thought it was very vulnerable to be like, hey, I don't feel like I'm part of the culture. I feel like an outsider. I don't feel heard. And seeing my man get told he's not good enough no more hurts my feelings. That's pretty vulnerable stuff for a football player to admit to us on camera. We don't usually get that. It's usually, cliches, whatever, like what he said at the Steelers press conference. I just needed a fresh start. Yada. We don't want to hear that, man. Tell us what's up. And he did, and I don't know if I agree or disagree with anything because I don't know if I have enough information to do that. But I just thought that was very cool for him to be like, yo, this is what I was feeling. This is why I felt that way. He didn't say it directly like, yo, I needed, that's why I requested a trade. But we can read between the lines there. Like, if we're going to change everything and I feel like, man, my man's part of this and we losing, let me go get $150 million somewhere. So I didn't hear that, Chris, as like a Grubb was the problem per se. I just think that was almost like a natural potential growing pain of trying to balance keeping some of the Seahawks culture and trying to start fresh. I feel like it was very natural for some guys who had got a heavy dose of both to feel torn. And it's a little different than like DK said, he's been playing for Pete for like 5 years or whatever, 6 years, versus like Ken Walker, who he played for Pete too, but only for like 2 years. So you're not as like married to the always compete type stuff. I thought that was very cool and insightful. I thought of DK to be like, yo, this is how I felt. Me and my man wasn't feeling like we felt like outsiders, so I got up out of here and got 150 million.
And when you think about it, those are the last three, including Geno, the last Pete Carroll guys outside of Jay Reed, who returned.
Yeah, Jay Reed. Yeah,
that core is kind of gone. Not kind of, it is gone. So that's a great point that DK did bring that up and was vulnerable about his situation and his time in Seattle, and he wanted a fresh start. So he got it, and we'll see. We'll be watching from afar. I'll be watching a lot of Steelers games now just to see how he plays, how he does.
Mm-hmm.
They still ain't got a quarterback, but I imagine Aaron Rodgers is going to sign that deal because I know DK will be pissed if it is is it Mason? I don't even know.
Rudolph, yeah.
They brought back if Mason Rudolph is throwing past the DK. Oh my gosh, I'm sure he would love to come back to Seattle at this point, but that's too late. So speaking of making trades and deals, this one is from Sports Junk 74. Do you envision John going out and looking for another upgrade on defense before the draft, or are we going to address the issues? Hang on, yeah, we'll just leave it at the draft.
I see him trying, and I was thinking about that. I mentioned this when I was doing Heed the Call too, a show this week with Underdog. Trade I'd like to see, Chris, that I don't know if it's going to happen. Actually, I doubt it would happen, but I would like to see it, is the Seahawks go get Trey Hendrickson. Like, I don't think there's an obvious, like, make your obvious deficiency better move right now. Like, you can go trade for a lineman, but I don't think anyone available is worth a damn right now. But I think if you were to do that, and I'm willing to go all in on that one because I think Trey Hendrickson's badass. So I don't think you got to give up your first round pick because you're bidding against yourself. I think since you got to extend him as well, if you do like the Dwayne Brown package, this might not get it done. But remember when they traded for Dwayne Brown, he was, I think, on the other side of 30, but played a premium position, was still obviously a very good player, Pro Bowl player at the time in Houston. He had some issues going on with them. They gave up, I want to say, like a second round pick. We can check this later, but a second round pick and a third round pick in consecutive drafts, and then ended up having to pay Dwayne Brown, which they did. I would do something like that. I think the proposal I had on the other show was a second round pick, a future third round pick, and I give him an edge rusher because they're obviously going to want one. I would imagine they want a young one. And then I'm paying Trey Hendrickson, whatever it takes. That would be the fun one. You got the cap space to do it. You have the draft capital to do it. And I honestly don't care which edge rusher you give them either. You can give them Chenna if you want. They probably want someone younger. They probably want like Boye, which I'd be cool with. If you say, all right, we'll give you our second now, doesn't matter which one, 50 or 52. You can have that. You can have our future third. You can have Boye. Give us Trey, and we'll pay him. I like that. I think if you trot out in 2025, if you just try to make the defense as just badass as possible, you trot out Chenna, D-Law, Trey, D-Hall, cool. You got like a game changer up front. Your back end solid. I like your linebacker group. You got the coordinator. Cool, let's roll. Go out there and have a top 3 defense. Not just like a good defense, like one of the best in the league type thing, what we saw from the Eagles. I do think that would be cool. I can't think of I was trying to spitball some other people that could be available. I didn't land on anything fun outside of something like that. I don't know if you can think of anything else, but that was the one that I was kind of coming back to.
He was a free agent. I'm sure he's signed now. I can look it up. Let me see. I'm pretty sure he signed with the team. I wanted him. I mentioned this a few pods ago. I believe he's actually back with the Saints, but I thought they should have went after Chase Young.
Oh yeah, Chase signed. He got a bag from the Saints. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a young guy that I thought. I mean, he's not on the Hendrick's level, but when I just can see him working really well with this defense. I really could, and he probably would have been a lot cheaper. They probably would have got a deal for him, but as you mentioned, he probably wanted to get paid the bag, which he did by the Saints. So that was kind of wishful thinking for the Seahawks defense to get someone that has a lot of upside, but he can be a game wrecker when he goes crazy. He's like almost to the Reek Woolen effect. When he's locked in, he's out here doing his thing. I'm not saying he's not locked in and he's not producing, but from afar, that might be something where he comes to Seattle and it just works out perfectly. But that would be another deal, a signing that they could have went after. I'm not saying they did or did not. I'm not sure. I don't have any backup or proof to show that, hey, they reached out to Chase and he was like, nah, I'm good. Especially now that you ain't got DK, Geno. I'm cool off that. That could have been the case. That might not have been the case. But that was someone that was on my radar early in free agency because I thought he could fit well with what the Seahawks were trying to do defensively.
Yeah, he signed pretty quick, I believe. I guess the only other one, this is not as fun, but like if you really, because I know everyone keeps asking this. I think someone did in the show questions this week about like drafting the tight end. I don't know if I would do that early, but if the Raiders are really trying to sell Michael Mayer for pennies on the dollar or whatever, and you want to do that, I'd be okay with that. You know, I don't know what the compensation. I don't know what I'd be willing to give up there, but yeah, if I'm gonna make a move, I want to make a splash. You know, and because we say this on the show quite a bit, and it's true, and it's worth reinforcing. You know how we just talked about like, oh yeah, maybe Seahawks might be a wild card team that might make the playoffs. That's not the goal around the building. The building is we want to compete for a championship, and so if you want to do that, you need the players to do that. And right now, Chris, I feel like we're in a very similar boat as last year. Remember, ESPN, they do like their poll where they ask everyone to rank the top 10 players at each position, and then I think Jeremy Fowler drops it during the summer. I think last year the only person who made the top 10 in their position was Spoon, and I think like K9 was honorable mention. I think Charles Cross was honorable mention. And let's look at the roster now. How many guys are top 10 at their spot right now? Spoon. Who else?
Leonard Williams might be.
Oh yeah. Leonard's probably a top 10 defensive tackle. Let me not short Leonard. Leonard is a top 10 defensive tackle. I will say that. Yes. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
See, that's what I'm saying. You can't. I don't know if scheme is not enough for me.
Oh, you know what? Ernest.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, that's a fringe. I think they've got a lot of fringe guys though. I think fringe is. Yeah, maybe.
I think this season he could probably be, this year he can be a lot better. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, I would say
he ain't got the speed to be like Fred. Fred is fast, nasty.
Yeah, he's not. Let's agree that he's not in the top 5. So the top 5.
No. I was going to say he could be top 5, and I had to think about that for a second. That's why there was a long you saw me thinking because I was going to say he could be top 5. Nah, he ain't got that in him. He could be a really good linebacker though, just not top 5.
Yes. No. Oh, I think he already is really good. But yeah, probably not top 5. So that's a fringe. I think they got a couple fringe. I think like K9. I think could be a fringe.
If K9 can stay healthy, he could be the best running back in the league. If we're being honest, he has that capability. He just misses 10 games a year.
Like, well, he don't even miss that many games. Believe it or not, it's just the.
It feels like it.
Yeah, that's more of like a perception thing than actually like how many games he actually misses. But I'm stuttering now. When I see Saquon highlights and Saquon does like some freaky athletic thing, I'm like, bro, I know Ken can do that. Like I watched Ken get a first down by flipping on his head over a defender in Detroit. Like I know he can do all that stuff. He's got the game-changing speed. He can catch. He's got the physicality. He's not as good as Saquon, but like, yeah, I think he's fringe. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked slightly. Sorry, how many games Ken missed 6 games last year, and prior to that, he only missed 2 games. Each of his first 2 seasons. So he's not hurt that much prior to last year. But anyway, the point about the talent, I think we're kind of in the same spot. It's like we may have 2 top 10 guys at their spot, some fringe dudes. JSN could be in that convo by the end of the year. Ken maybe sneak in there. Maybe Kobe sneaks in there with the safeties. Maybe Ernest sneaks in there. But it's a lot of now we're talking about maybes and what ifs. You know, I just feel like if you want to compete for a championship, you're going to need some more guarantees of like, we have this. Like, how many guys did like the Eagles have like that last year, or the Chiefs? It's like multiple, even the Bills and the Ravens, like multiple. You can be like, yes, that guy is unquestionably top 10 of his spot. I feel like you need more of that. That's why I'm like, you know what? Go ahead, go get Trey Hendrickson if the Bengals will let him rock.
This next one is from Steve Largenut. Oh, well played there. Is John Schneider on the hot seat, or should he be if the Seahawks don't have a top 20 offensive line in 2025, or even if the rest of the team isn't solid?
Yeah, top 20, that's kind of funny barometer. That's still a bad line. Like the 19th best O-line is bad. Like, I'm trying to think of an example of a team that had like the Cardinals probably had like the 19th best O-line. Like that was not a good O-line last year. But anyway, I get the framing of the question. I got asked this quite a bit, even when I did a mailbag on The Athletic, which should be out now as of Thursday morning. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I think John Schneider and Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, I think they got lifetime contracts, bro. I don't think they can do anything to get up out of here. I think the owners love them. They're not going anywhere. I really don't think so. Because you guys got to look at it. This is how I look at the Seahawks, the state of them as it relates to John. And I've said this on the show before. John gets a lot of credit, or like doesn't get a lot of blame, however you want to frame it, for problems he was part of. For instance, the O-line. It's like, oh, well, if John doesn't fix the O-line now, is he out of here? Let's backtrack. Why is it broken? Who broke it? Like that, maybe my brain just wired a little different, but like John Schneider, he was like, yeah, on the radio, he was like, yeah, you know, we can all see our biggest deficiency, you know, the offensive line. And it's like, okay, I would love to you to stop right there. Why is it deficient? Who put together the unit that is deficient? Like, I feel like we don't stop and do that process enough. It's like, oh my goodness, look at this Ernest Jones contract. It's like, we talked about this with Ernest in the past, but it's like, oh, look, he got Ernest Jones. Great. Fix the defense mid-year. Great. Why did you need Ernest? That, you know, so I feel like John and Pete were for a while there together tasked with doing these soft rebuilds, retools, whatever, recalibrations, whatever, that they necessitated. It was like, oh yeah, well, if they just get more dynamic up front, they'll be fine. All right, stop there. Why is the D-line not dynamic now? This is the one y'all put together. Like when Pete said that after they lost the wild card game to the Niners, it was like, yeah, we got to get more dynamic up front. Timeout. You just learned that? Like, why are you not dynamic up front? These are guys you signed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you meaning John and Pete. I'm not separating John in that regard. But now that John's the only one here, I feel like this dude got a million lives. Not to say he should or shouldn't, but I feel like the framing of how he's assessed, I feel like I'm sometimes taking crazy pills when I'm just like, I don't understand why that's not more of the discussion. You'd be like, yeah, well, I mean, like, they have all these needs. John and his guys did not get here yesterday. This is going to be their 16th draft. Not everyone's been around for all 16. But yeah, 16 drafts. If the O-line deficient now, it's because 15 drafts of drafting got us here in trades and free agency, you know, and that's what any position. That's the D-line, that's the linebackers, that's the corners. I feel like if anything's been deficient for multiple years and multiple iterations of coaches or whatever, I feel like I'm only giving you so much credit for fixing it, let alone giving you the time to fix it. And that's me. I'm not the owner. But I say all that to come around like, Chris, I don't know what it would have to. The team, I think, would have to just be just terrible all around. I don't think it can be an O-line thing. Because quietly, and this is, I'm not saying John's doing this on purpose, but what John and Mike are like, them propping up Clint Kubiak and his guys, like, oh, we got these new coaches. They're going to help our guys who weren't good last year be better. They're quietly, subtly, whatever, setting it up. So, Chris, if it doesn't work, who are we going to blame? And I'm like, oh, well, maybe they can't coach. Instead of being like, maybe the guys you gave them aren't that good. Or maybe you hired the wrong coaches, like last year with Mike hiring Grubb. So I just feel like we're already setting it up for the blame to go somewhere else. It's kind of genius on their part. Again, they're not doing that on purpose, but because I do think they genuinely believe that Clinton and his guys will help the O-line. But yeah, I just feel like Chris, unless they go 4-13, I think everybody's coming back. Maybe 5-12.
Wow.
Otherwise, I think everybody comes back. Because if not, then what's changed? It's the same stuff. Yeah, I don't get why Jody or Bert or any of the ownership will wake up and be like, man, I don't think John can build a no-line. What's the difference in year 16 and year 12? It said that 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So I don't think he's going nowhere unless they just are just trash all around.
Roger Vanu asks, can the new coaching staff scheme better O-line play with only draft picks and current roster players?
Yeah, so let's look at the O-line right now, Chris. I got it pulled up because I was looking at that. So right now, if the season started today, the O-line would probably be Charles Cross, Christian Haynes, Olu Oluwatimi, Shatau Laumea, and Abe Lucas. That's asking a lot. Maybe you add a draft pick in there. I don't know, man. Again, to go back to the previous question, I think that's asking a lot of the staff. Yes, I do think the O-line will be better. I do think they have better coaches now. Cool. But what does better get you? Let's say the Seahawks, where did the Seahawks rank last year? Not just, don't look it up, but Chris, just where would you say? 1 through 32, what was the Seahawks O-line?
Probably 30th.
Cool. Let's go with 30. If they get to 20, are we going to feel that difference?
Probably not.
Like, is it going to be enough for this people who are not complaining about upgrading the O-line? Now, people always complain about everything, so that's probably not a fair way to quantify it, but I feel like you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you're not asking them to get from 30 to 20. I feel like we're asking them, we being like Mike McDonald, John Schneider, you're asking them to go from like 30 to like 9 without changing the personnel dramatically. Dog, that is unfair. That is unfair to Clint and his guys. I don't care how long they've been coaching O-line. To ask them to be miracle workers is very tough. But that's what you're asking them. I don't think you're asking them to get from 30 to 20. If the Seahawks had the 30th O-line last year and or something around there and they get to 20th or something, anywhere 20 to 17, bro, we're gonna have the same combo next year. Yeah, no one's gonna feel like it's better. Because I've seen the Seahawks have an O-line in that range. And no one thought that was like, oh yeah, our O-line's fine. No, not. It was probably in that range in 20. Whatever line had like Fluker and like Ayupati and Sweezy, like that little stretch of O-lines.
18 or 19, I believe.
Yeah, probably some combination of both of those seasons together. No one left those seasons being like, man, our O-line straight. Let's do something else. No, it was like, hey, Chris, Mike, we're going to draft linemen. Every year I'm mocking a lineman to the Seahawks in the first round. So I think yes, the answer to the question is the coaching staff can coach up. The scheme is a little better where you're trying to get guys off the ball, get them moving. You don't need like full on, just like guys who can just pick up a dude and move them, which is something, honestly, that's what Anthony Bradford's really good at for what it's worth. But if you're going to, which is why I could see why Grubb kept starting him over Christian Haynes, who was probably a better fit for this zone scheme. But I also think we have to be realistic about like the zone scheme. It's not just like offensive line proof. You still do need guys. Chris, I give you a perfect example. The Falcons last year basically ran this wide zone thing because their coach came from the Rams. Forget his name, Zach Taylor, I think. They were running this wide zone scheme. Remember the first half of that Falcons game? Bijan going crazy, Tyler Algier going crazy on the Seahawks running the ball in the first half. Remember that, right?
Yes.
You know how many yards Tyler Algier and Bijan had in the second half of that game?
Probably 13 yards.
22 on 11 carries.
There you go.
You can shut down the scheme if the O-line doesn't perform. And that Falcons O-line was decent last year, actually. Like, you can shut it down. All Leonard Williams was like, I asked him about that. He was like, yeah, we just really decided just to get upfield and knock guys back. And we stopped their run game. Like obviously, I did a little bit more schematic stuff, but it was pretty simple adjustment. And that was just one team as an in-game adjustment. So it's not as if like, oh yeah, we're running wide zone. We don't need guys who can block. No, you still do need guys who can block, and you still need guys who can block in a bunch of schemes too. You can't just be zone all game either, and you still got to hold up on third down, which when you're not running the ball. So I think the it's reasonable to expect them, if they were 30th to go to about 20th, maybe in the 17th. Maybe I do think that's possible. Maybe even likely with only adding like a draft pick starter instead of like Christian Haynes, you're starting a different left guard, Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel, whatever. Maybe you're doing that. But I think that what they want realistically inside the building is something closer to like a top 10 offense. And for that, I do think you're going to need like a top 10 O-line. And to ask Clinton, his guys to do that without changing the personnel is setting them up to be the scapegoats in January when that does not happen.
This next one is from Lee. Is it realistic to think the Seahawks can leave the draft with 2 interior offensive lineman starters?
Not day one starters. I think day one is asking a lot. I think it's possible. Realistic, I don't know. I don't know how to say what's realistic or not. But is it possible? Yes. I do think you can get it to a situation where like by the end of the year, they have 2 guys who can start. I think like if you were to grab, there's a few guys I like. I know we all focus on like the Gray Zabel dude and some other guys, but like I do think the Georgia center is a starter. I think that whichever Ohio State guy is the guard. I can't remember their names right now off the top of my head. He's a starter. The Oregon kid is a starter at some point. The Texas kid, Kelvin Banks. I think there's a bunch of guys that they can have start. I do think that. But I don't think you could expecting that from day one. I feel like that's tough. That's the other reason why the draft. You don't want to go into the draft needing a bunch of starters right away because it's just hard. It's a learning curve. These guys haven't been training for football. They're out here running around in their underwear in like Florida and in LA and stuff. They're not practicing football right now. They're practicing for the Olympics, and that's different than when you have to actually learn football. That's what makes rookies who are lit in their first year. That's what makes it so impressive because they're not training for football. So I think. Maybe you get one day one started. And the Seahawks have done that. They got like D-Lou was ready to roll, like off a rip. Like that, a D-Lou is possible for sure. Can you get that and an Abe? I mean, remember, Chris, how big of a deal it was that Abe and Charles were able to start like from day one in 20. That's really rare. That was tough. That's a tough thing to do. I think that it's more likely that they get one starter and then maybe after the bye week or maybe because someone goes down in week 11 or something like that, by December, maybe it's like, oh, okay, they got 2 rookies in the lineup, but they're not screwed. I think that's more likely than like, oh, yep, they came away from the draft. They drafted player A, player B. Both of them are going to start week 1 against. Ooh, do the Seahawks play the Steelers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that should be week 1. I think that's in Pittsburgh. That should be week 1.
It is.
That should be the week 1 game. You're welcome, NFL. But anyway, like I just think it's hard to expect that. I do think it's more realistic that if I'm going to call something realistic, it is that they get one starter, one D-Lou type, and then maybe by the end of the year, they're like, oh, this guy can also start at guard or center or whatever. I think that is possible in this draft, yes.
This next one is from James Rogers. 12's understandably fixated on the offensive line. What other key needs do the Seahawks need to add that they're missing?
Yeah, I think that they should raise the floor on some of their groups for sure, or raise the ceiling, excuse me. I've been saying this for a little bit. The double-digit pass rusher thing is real to me, like on the edge. Not having someone get double-digit sacks since Frank in 2018 is a problem. That's a problem. Now, 10 sacks is a little arbitrary because they've had a couple guys get 9 and 9.5. So it's not like they're just totally off. But still, the fact that you can't get a guy to do it over multiple years, multiple defensive coordinators, multiple top 50 draft picks on edge rushers, like this is a problem for me. I think that's like a must. That has to happen. Maybe that's Chenna this year. Maybe that's D-Law this year. Maybe that's Boye. Maybe. I don't play the what if game. It's in a Marvel movie. Like, I think you should go. That's the thing you need. I think another corner that raises the ceiling will be fine. Like, I think right now, Josh Joe keeps your floor high. But like that ceiling, I think can be raised. Very similar to what I think the Texans did last year, getting Kamari, I think Lassiter is how you pronounce his last name, number 4. Like they already had their stud in Stingley, and then they put another guy that was raising the ceiling, and their just pass defense was nuts. Look at what they had good quarterbacks doing last year, looking like trash. I think the Seahawks can do something like that. And then lastly, I really think they need more speed at receiver, man. Like Marquez is fast. That's great. To quote Chris Rock from Longest Yard, that's one black guy. This ain't hockey. Like you need some fast dudes. Not to say speed is everything, like I was saying with Cooper Kupp, but right now this is probably the not fastest receiver room in the NFL. Like you need some speed. It's not just like straightaway speed either. I don't need everybody running go routes, but like speed does come in handy on all types of routes, digs and shallow crosses, screens, Chris's favorite route, slants, all that stuff. Like you need it. And right now they just do not have it. They do not have speed, and they need that pretty bad. And if you think, well, Mike, they got talent, it's not all about being fast. Cool. You know who would disagree with that? The 2022 Chargers. When they were trotting out there Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and we're like, God damn, our unit is slow. Like you need some speed. So I think that should be the goal. Obviously, you just want the best players possible, but that's what I would be targeting in the draft on offense. On top of offensive line, if you want to exclude that, like, come on, man. Get some speed in there. Please. Go get my guy Kyle Williams from Wazoo. Go Cougs. He'll help for sure.
This next one is from Travis out there in Canada, Saskatchewan, to be specific.
Hey,
they're gonna get 7 inches of snow tomorrow. But he wants to know the likelihood the Hawks try to add an impact receiver before the start of training camp. He feels this current room is gonna miss DK a lot.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will miss DK. And it's tough, man. There's not a lot of receivers out there right now up for grabs, and there was Kupp, there was DK, there was Ayuk's out there, but I'm not trading for somebody whose knee is blown. Stephon Diggs, it's kind of whatever. That's Kupp. He's Black Cooper Kupp. Tyreek Hill, nah, it's tough. There's a reason why the Steelers were willing to give up a second round pick and give DK $150 million because it's hard to find DKs out there. No matter what you say about DK, how consistent he is about this show, we could critique DK as much as anybody in terms of his play. We do. We're on the record doing that. Google it. But we also watching the tape. Ain't everybody doing what DK doing, man. It's just not. It's not. What DK makes your defense do, that is what's hard to replicate. And that there's value in that. I don't see teams like being like, okay, we gotta make sure Cooper Kupp don't kill us today. Like maybe, no, man, number 1 receiver, like that dude from the Niners, DeMondre Lenore or whatever. Like there is a reason he got up for playing DK, and then why he was on IG Live talking about Jackson like he's nothing. Not to say I agree with him, but that's the difference sometimes. Like that DB was like, yo, I earn my money when I lock up DK. Like that's how defenses view this man, and guys of his ilk. And I think that's hard to replicate. So I think that John's probably looking. I think he recognizes ain't nothing out there. And so they're going to trot out JSN, MVS, Cooper Kupp, and River Craycraft go Cougs, and pray for the best. And I think that's a good receiver room. But yeah, I don't think it has the same like high level of impact as like a Jackson DK receiver room.
Fullback. This is from Cup of Bobo. Who the Seahawks signing? Possible Taysom Hill, rookie. Someone else? ?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm actually pretty disappointed about that. Speaking of the lack of a vision, where is the fullback? I'm with y'all. Yo, this Eric, who they signed? Eric Salbert. I don't know how to say his last name, but he used to play for the Niners. Just signed him. They got Brady Russell. One of these dudes better be a fullback, or I'm about to go in there and yell at Clint Kubiak myself. Go get fullback or one of these guys. Now, Brady Russell has the makings of a fullback. Now, he's not like maybe not stature-wise, but if you look at him, he's one of those like Crispy went to Wazoo. You see them white boys just don't feel pain. One of them guys, like smash the beer can on his head, like just it's cold out, it's snowing outside. He's in shorts. He's one of them guys. I know you've seen them guys. I got tons of friends like that. Yeah, Brady, one of them dudes. Luke Wilson was like that. Perfect example of one of those guys. Yep, Luke Wilson was that. You need one of them guys. It's just it's a certain aesthetic of like white guy tight ends or fullbacks. I feel like that's just like it's a group of them. George Kittle, he's exactly like that. George Kittle, definitely type of guy. It's snowing outside. He's in a t-shirt, shorts, shirtless, drinking a Coors Light. That's him. You need one of them guys. Now George's not a fullback, obviously, but you need that. I think you got to convert Brady, maybe convert this Eric Cat, but you need it. And I'm really disappointed in Clint and Mike McDonald and John Schneider. They have not addressed that. I don't know what's going on there, but I do agree that is necessary because it just gives you a toughness that right now they're on paper they just do not have on their offense.
This next one is from Sands909. Where would Byron Murphy rank among this year's D-line class? Also, is Gray Zabel a reach at 18?
Okay, I'll go with the Gray Zabel dude. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Kid from North Dakota State. So here's the thing about reaches. I think sometimes we do get caught up a little bit in the positional value stuff. And I agree with that quite a bit. The example I always use when people tell me positional value does not matter. I think if the number one player in the draft was a center and you took him with the number one overall pick, people would laugh at you, right? And you guys would laugh at your team if you did that. And that you wouldn't be like, oh, well, he's the best player in the draft, so we took him number one. No, we all kind of understand it doesn't work like that, right? Same thing if the number one, if your team took a kicker in the first round, like, well, we think he's the best kicker ever. Okay, cool, but he's a kicker, right? Like, I can get a kicker later. So positional value does matter to some extent. So, but however, there are some positions where if you do get the best player at that spot, there is a lot of value in that, and some more than others. I do think like if you get the best tight end, which is why I'm not big on tight ends in the first round. If you get the best tight end, man, the ceiling on your offense really doesn't go that much higher. The Raiders are a great example last year. They had the best tight end in the league last year. And they were just legitimately unwatchable because you need so much other stuff to raise the ceiling of your group when you get the best tight end. Same thing when you get the best running back. Saquon, great example. He would not have done any of the stuff he did last year if he was on the Giants, right? Because I feel like there are some positions that are more of the cherry on top versus the meat and potatoes. I bring it up with Gray Zabel to say, if you get the best guard, like the best guard in the league with the 18th pick, cool. No one's going to be like, oh, man, the 18th pick, Like, it's the same logic that I think the Jets tried to use when they took that Vera Tucker cat. The only reason I remember that is because they used the pick that they got from the Jamal trade to trade up to get him. They went up from 23 to 14 in the first round. And this Vera Tucker dude can't stay healthy, but their reasoning, you go look at like the Jets and Jets reporters, they were like, oh, we might have got an all-pro guard, the 14th pick. They didn't. So I feel like it's hard to say reach or not because you're kind of banking on him being like the best at that, which is kind of how you would maybe define a reach. But then again, if he is the best at that, no one's going to care. So I guess it's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, probably. Unless ... he's the best of that. Because in this case, the guard wouldn't be the cherry on top. You actually need the meat and potatoes there. You need a guard. So yeah, ... unless he is the next Trey Smith. Then no one will care that you got him at 18. What was the first part of that question?
About Byron Murphy in this D-lines class. Where does he rank?
Good question. I haven't the back end of this class. I haven't gotten to too much. Been kind of busy with free agency stuff and watching Sam Darnold tape late at night. From what I can tell, though, at the top of the class, like Byron seems like just as good as Kenneth Grant, which is the kid from Michigan, and Mason Graham. Are those both? Yeah, both the Michigan guys. I think Byron's just as good as both of them. I think the Mason Graham kid's really good. He's one of them. He seems like one of them. Don't feel pain cats too. He seemed like it. I'm not sure. But I think he's really good. I think Byron probably just as good. Remember, Byron had an argument. Now, obviously, at the end, Jared Verse currently. But he had an argument for being the best defensive player in an entire draft. That's really good. Right. So yeah, I think he'd probably be like at worst third best, I would say. But you could make an argument that just as good as Mason Graham, just as good as Grant, the other kid. Yeah, I think so. Byron, I think, is going to be really good. I think it's just unfortunate. Just one of them things, man, where when another guy behind you is like good off rip, it just looks kind of rough. It does. And honestly, the Jared Verse being the guy who was drafted after. We've seen that though. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is a good example of how that can come back around. Like Chris, after year one, it kind of looked like, damn, they probably should have took Jordan Addison, or damn, they probably should have took who was the other receiver? Zay Flowers was the other receiver in that draft. They went after Jackson, but now it's like, oh, they're all probably like the same.
Oh, really
like Jackson, yeah, Zay, Jordan. Honestly, the real answer is all of them should have took Puka.
Puka, yeah.
To be honest, right? Yeah, exactly. But at the time, it looked like after that first year, it was like, damn, man, Seahawks missed again. They should have took Jordan Addison. Should have took Zay Flowers. Now it's like, oh well, Zay. Now it looks like the only team that made a mistake was the Chargers taking Quentin Johnston. Otherwise, they're all about the same. I think over time, we'll be saying that with Byron. As well. I think he's really good and going to be really good.
This next one is from Paul Martin, Katy, Texas. Who would you sign to an extension and what would the contracts look like?
I love this question, Paul. Appreciate that. I actually looked this one up. So, Chris, I'm going to give you... So, here are the guys that are up for extensions. These are the guys in the 2022 draft class, excluding like Derek, But so, Reek Woolen, Boye Mafe, Charles Cross, Ken Walker, Kobe Bryant, Abe Lucas. Basically, their whole draft class. So they're all due since they played 3 years in the league. So, Chris, here's what I'm going to give you. Roughly, I think like the baseline, if you're going to extend these players, is thinking that they're a top 10 player at their spot, like we were talking about. So here's the top. I'm going to go through the top 10 average annual salaries at these guys' positions. Who do you want me to start with? Give me a guy from the class.
Go ahead and start with Cross.
Okay. Charles Cross. A top 10 left tackle contract right now is $20 million a year. Taylor Decker. A top 5 contract for him is Jake Matthews. That's $22.5 million. Woof. Yeah. That's pricey. However, they should do that. I'm doing that today. Honestly, if Charles Cross wants the Christian Darrisaw deal, the Vikings tackle, I think adjusted for the inflation of the cap rising, his deal was like $28 million a year with like $84 million guaranteed. If you adjust for the cap, I'm doing that tomorrow. You know how hard it is to get a left tackle? A good one? Yeah. Give me that tomorrow. Yeah. Charles only 24, by the way. 24. Yeah. Sign me up for this. Charles might get 3 more contracts in his lifespan as an NFL player. Yeah. Sign me up for that. All right. What other spots you want?
Go ahead and give me. You know what? Let's go left tackle. Abe.
All right. So a top 10 right tackle contract is is Taylor Moton, kid from the Panthers, $17 million. Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if the reason I'm going with that is the floor, because again, if you don't think these guys are worth that, then you probably should just wait. Because then you get into the place of you're like, okay, now I'm just overpaying for like an average talent. Right. So that one I'd wait on. I got to see Abe off his knee. Is Abe that talented player? 100%. Do I think Abe could be a top 10 right tackle? 1,000%. But I got to see the knee first. Very similar to Will Fry's. Like, hey, man, you broke your leg. Can I come look at it? No? Well, I'm not giving you $80 million. It's a very simple discussion right there. I can't even get mad at John Schneider for that. Man. Hey, man, you broke that leg. You ain't come see me. No? All right, then no. Never mind. If that's the whole story. Speaking to John, only telling his part. So, yeah, I'm a no on Abe. I got to wait and see. Let's stay on offense. Let me see what you think about this one, Chris. Yeah, Ken.
Yeah.
Top 10 average per year for a running back, $9 million. Ramondre Stevenson, that's what he makes.
Oh yeah. Where can he sign? Get it done. That's easy. Mike is ready to get a new running back.
I don't know. You know what? You know why? This that's one position I'm probably just not paying for at all. But you know what's really hurting me in this or skewing my view of this? Earlier today, someone put this on my timeline. It was the Kenny McIntosh run from the preseason game where he stiff arms the dude from the Browns and runs like 60 yards.
Oh man.
I was like, I might be able to just roll with that. I might be able to just roll with and Zach Charbonnet, obviously. And this running back class is really good too. So
yeah, I could always see it.
That's another one. I don't know, man. I might I might have to wait on that too. I might have to wait, or just let him walk. To be honest, after this year, although even $9 million is not even that crazy. Like they're paying $9 million for like
that's nothing. That's why I said bring him back. You can get him. What? Get that done. But
yeah,
Mike said,
you probably should. You're probably right, but I just can't do it, man.
Mike is looking at, bro. We can draft some dude from Alabama. We'll be good.
Dog, if you just only drafted SEC running backs every year and on day 3, eventually you're gonna get serviceable players for sure. Yeah, so I can't do that one. All right, let's switch to defense. This is an interesting. Kobe's an interesting one.
Okay,
that's an interesting one. So a top 10 safety deal right now is about $14.5 million. Kyle Duggar of the Patriots. Yeah, he signed that deal last year. Updated version of that would be about $15 million. However, so this is an interesting one because his teammate is already on a veteran deal. Jay Love's extension, if you adjust that for the salary cap, that's only $12 million. So you can't. I don't think you could pay Kobe more than Jay Love right now. So that one I might do if we go in saying, all right, man, I'm not paying you no more than Jay Love because he's a Pro Bowl guy, he's proven, blah blah. And he's like, all right, cool, I'll take 11 mil. Give me 11 mil over 33 million, 3 years. Do it right now. I do that in a heartbeat right now because that's going to age super well. That one I can get down. Problem is, Kobe has a lot of incentive, I think, if he's willing to bet on himself, which he seems like that type of guy. Like, you know what? I'll just play out my final deal.
Or he gonna get a bag somewhere.
Go get 6 interceptions or something like that, and then be, like get paid by the Jets or something like that. Aaron Glenn's defense, because they're gonna need some safeties, I think. So I could see something like that for Kobe if they come to the table. They're like, nah, I would do that though. If I just need to give him the J Love deal, I'm doing that. That one I would do, and I would just give him the same deal adjusted for inflation. 3 years, 36 or whatever. I would do that one for Kobe if he's willing to do it. Kobe, again, he has incentive to say no. He probably should say no. If I was his agent, I'd tell him say no. But if he's willing to negotiate, I'll have that one done. I'll wait till after the draft. 4th of July, when I come back from my 4th of July vacation from the Seahawks, then we can have that done by camp. We got any more? Oh, Reek.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why everybody hate Reek so much, man. Everybody hate Reek. So a top 10 cornerback contract right now is about $19 million.
God damn.
That's only 10. That's the 10th highest paid corner. $19 million. Yeah. That's 10.
19 a year.
So the thing on that is, so this is the Reek one is a little interesting because it's like if you even want to pay Reek eventually, you should just do it now.
Because it's going the price is only gonna go up.
Bingo. Don't even wait. Because this is that's just gonna get crazy.
Reek $30 million a year. He's not.
Because that's the thing. If you pay someone, you think they're gonna play well going forward, and if you think Reek's gonna play well in 2025,
pay him now.
That's gonna cost you about $25 million a year. Now, if you don't think he's gonna do that, well, then you just let that contract die. You just play it and let him rock, whatever. Get the comp pick. But if you plan on paying him at some point, you should just do this now. There's zero benefit, like today. Like as soon as the podcast comes out, do it. If he's willing to sign. Because there's just no reason to wait if you're going to do it. Now, if you just don't want to, that's fine. Don't. But don't. I think it would be a bad idea to be like, well, let's see. Let's pay him if he ball. I don't know, man. Because you're like, that seems just asking for a Frank Clark situation. Yes, he prices himself out of that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, he's gonna be an all-pro elite, and it's gonna be like, damn, how much you want a year? $36 million? Yeah, bro, we not doing that. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, no. I mean, and he would be well within his rights to ask that. Yeah, I know people listen to that like, well, Mike Reek's not gonna play like that. Maybe he don't, but if he do,
he's not coming back to Seattle. That's
a $25 million a year guy. He can be like 26, 27 years old, premier position, 6'4", runs 4.2. Yeah. So if you want to do it, now would I probably would if I can get that. If I can get the DeMondre Lenoir deal, which is I think $19.6 million, I'm doing it. Because I'm gonna just do it now. Because if I'm gonna do it now. That's probably how you have to look at that. Otherwise, you're just costing yourself more money, and he eventually prices himself out. Which, if you're cool with that, that's fine. But yeah, if you want Reek long term and you know that now, pay him now. Don't wait. Oh, sorry, we forgot Boye. That's our
Oh,
fault.
you're talking about the players. My bad.
Yes, my bad. No. I forgot. Boy, top 10 edge rusher, 21 million.
Yeah, he not getting that bag. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to just play out your contract, and it's been nice having you, man. It's one of those tough ones.
That's another one where if you think he's gonna ball, you need to do it now.
He's the second. He's the backup. So he's gonna have to like extra ball out. He's gonna have to like take over during the season and be elite. And that I don't think that's gonna happen. So
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
I think I'm giving Charles, Kobe, and then if you want Reek, you gotta do that now. I think that would be it. That's the verdict. That's not bad though. You extend 3 dudes from one draft class. That's not bad. That's a 2012 class. They extended Bobby, Russ, and Jay Lane. There you go. That's not that bad.
You made it work. This last one comes from Ziggy Not Nice. And if the Seahawks don't make the playoffs, where does this team go from here? From there?
I think they can make the playoffs. I do agree with your assessment, Chris. I think they can. I think that let's see. The NFC playoff teams last year. Let's see how we can probably agree, Chris. Detroit's a lock. I guess we can agree.
Yep.
Philly's a lock.
Yep.
I would probably guess we get one NFC South team.
Falcons.
That would be I think it would be Tampa Bay. I don't believe in Atlanta.
You know what?
They don't have any defenders.
I'm bugging. Tampa Bay definitely. They got everybody on offense back, and as long as they'll be fine.
Yes. So I think let's factor in just at least one NFC South team. Obviously, an NFC West team. Chris, I really could see. I don't know how the math will check out. We have to see the schedules. I honestly also could see a world though, where every NFC North team got in.
Oh yeah, without a question. I was gonna actually make that comment. Like the NFC North is disgusting. Lions, Vikings, Packers. So I could see it being like Lions, Packers, and then maybe the Bears and Vikings. Like that.
Yeah, that's everybody.
They could all definitely get 10 wins.
Yeah, I'd have to see their schedules and see what other divisions they're playing and when and all that stuff. But yeah, that's and I also think Carolina's eventually going to figure it out. And I think the Niners, if you look at Kyle Shanahan, every year that he stinks, the next year they go to the NFC Championship game. So they were bad this year. Next year, probably going to go to the NFC Championship game because that's what Kyle Shanahan does. So I do think they can make it. So I don't want to sound all doom and gloom to end the show. That said, if they don't, barring like a situation like the Niners just had, where just everyone's decimated by injuries or whatever, unless something like that happens, I'm not really sure why you retain everybody. And that's it. No, for us, everybody, because that means something went really wrong. It does. That means either the roster was bad, and then I'm just getting rid of everybody who had something to do with it, or the roster was fine and the coaching was bad. Then I'm just at this point, I'm just like, bro, what else we need you to do? If the roster works out. So what do we do from here? I feel like I don't know how anyone could get up there in good faith. Anyone, I mean, running the Seahawks, whether that's Mike McDonald, John Schneider, Jody, whatever. If they were to not make it, to get up there in good faith on a microphone and be like, well, we just need to retool a little bit. Like, you ever just say something, you just know it just sound gross coming out your mouth? Like that I would have to imagine that would be it. If John got up there and be like, yeah, we're real close. If we had just won the Bears game this year, maybe we're not having this conversation. Like, he's got to slap himself in the eye for saying that out loud. The same thing with Mike McDonald, So yeah, if they were to not get back there, and after another year, that'd be 3 years in a row, by the way, Chris, of not making the playoffs. Yeah,
that can't be good.
I'm getting everybody up out of here. If that's the case, that's what I would do. Will Jody do that? Probably not. We'll probably be having the same combos. What would Mike do? Everybody gone, barring like injuries and stuff. No, for real, everybody gone. Take the pictures off the wall too again if you need to. I will get rid of everybody because I don't see it. Am I tripping? I just don't see what the value would be of like 3 straight years missing the playoffs. It's like, bro, what are we doing here? We're just on the hamster wheel again.
Yeah, very well said. It doesn't make sense to bring everybody back. It's time to You got rid of Pete for this reason, so now it's time to just blow everything up. Just goodbye. New GM, new coaching staff. There you go. And
go draft a quarterback in the first round.
Damn, Mike said a full reset. Go draft a quarterback. Yeah.
Yes, it would be way overdue at that point. 3 straight years missing the playoffs, like, come on, man. It'd be overdue. I would almost guarantee that every team that's missed the playoffs 3 years in a row has reset. We don't have all the data to look it up right this second, but I would almost bet that any team that's missed it 3 years in a row has reset.
Well, that's not what Seahawks fans want to hear. I guess they better make it then, huh?
No, they can make it, though. That's why I prefaced that. Said I think they can make. I'm not guaranteeing that will happen. I think there's a world where, I think the NFC, those wild card spots are going to be up for grabs. I don't think they're going to win a division. I don't think they'll have to get in as a wild card. But, I think, the wild card's up for grabs. They're probably as potentially good as any other wild card team. I don't think there's going to be like last year where one wild card team has like 13 wins or whatever. I think the wild card teams are all going to be of the same caliber this year. I think the division winners are going to be all very clear where they're better. Yeah. But I think the wild card teams are all going to be very clear. I do think you're right that you could get a scenario where 2 NFC East teams are very good. Commanders and Eagles again. Maybe. But even that, I actually see that the wild card teams all being of the same caliber.
All right, before we get out of here, who breaks through first, the Cowboys or the Seahawks?
Oh boy, good question.
I feel like the Cowboys are in the same scenario the Seahawks are in. They had injuries too, obviously, but
I think the Seahawks probably. That's tough though. I actually think Jerry Jones is a decent drafter, to be honest. I actually think that's the thing he does pretty well, or whoever's in charge of the drafts over there. So, Seahawks. I would guess Seahawks. I do think their division is a little easier. I do think so.
You can get the Giants in there. You kidding me?
No. I think the Seahawks division is a little easier.
Oh, I thought you. Okay, I was gonna say the Giants. That's the easy win. I know. I'm like Russ. The money must be great because there's no way I'm playing for that team. But good for him.
Because the Commanders, to your point, and the Eagles are both really good.
Yes.
Like that could be 4 losses for the Cowboys just right there. Whereas I do think there's a world where the Seahawks can maybe beat the Rams and maybe split with the Niners. You know what I mean? It's possible.
Nah, Rams are sweeping them next year. Devontae Adams Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. That don't even sound fun.
I'm trying to be positive, and then
I'm gonna enjoy watching the film because it's gonna look amazing with the routes they're doing, but it might get real bad, especially because Matt Stafford, him and Sean
that's
McVay,
true.
They've
never lost to the Seahawks. Stafford and McVay have never lost to the Seahawks together, never.
So Mac McDonald has his homework cut out for him. But enough of that. We want to thank everybody for watching, listening for this latest episode of Seahawks Man to Man. We appreciate all the love and support. It's been a busy off season. I hope everybody stayed safe during that thunderstorm. It looks like it's over, so the power's still on. We made it through the whole pod. I was a little nervous, not gonna lie. Mike and I talked off wax about that. I was like, "Hey, bro, this storm's supposed to be crazy." Seems like it wasn't that bad in Seattle, so that all worked out. Mike, is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Just thank you guys for our love and support. Appreciate you. We're gonna try to make the draft pivot starting now. We close the book on free agency. Get into the draft a little bit in the shows leading up to a very big draft for the Seahawks. So appreciate the love and support. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Seahawks Man and Man. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you. Hit Chris on Blue Sky and Twitter. Hit me just on. You can hit me on both of those too. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.